Good evening, Monday Morning Quarterback, episode 162. The previous 161 of these you can find on our YouTube page. Just go to YouTube and search CSI Shocks. Please like and subscribe while you're there. Helps us out with all of what we're trying to do here and provide content, information, and help everybody share the knowledge that I have and our team has to make everybody a little bit faster and more confident in what they're doing when it comes to suspension and race cars. Just got back from Las Vegas. It was great to be out there in the warmth. It's cold here. If you're coming in for PRI next week, it's supposed to warm up. It's supposed to be back in the 60s next week. So speaking of PRI, you can find us at booth 3639. And if you are in town for that, we are having an open house here on Thursday night from 6 to 9 p.m. So be sure to stop by. We'll give you a behind-the-scenes look. We're going to have lots of good food and drinks. Some of our neighbors are going to participate. I know Sharp Advantage is going to participate, and we're finalizing a few others. So if you make the trek out to Brownsburg, which is about 15-20 minutes from the show, there's going to be a handful of shops you can see right here in our little business park. We got a bunch of racing shops back here. So next week's episode of Monday Morning Quarterback is going to be our guide to PRI. So we'll share some of the new products you'll be able to see at our booth. So if you're not coming, you'll want to tune in. You can see some of the new cool things we're going to release next week at PRI. And we'll also give you the down low on the good places to eat and things to do while you're in town besides the trade show. So tonight's topic, though, is knowing how to adjust your race car when it comes to your suspension package. So shocks, springs, when to adjust what. It seems very simple, but it's a little more complex than it seems. A good buddy of mine used to always say, you just got to give the race car what it wants and it'll go fast. Unfortunately, it can't talk to you and tell you what it wants. So there's that correlation of driver, crew chief, trying to feed information, dissect what you're visually seeing on the race car, what any data that you would have, whether it be tire temps, RPM, whatever that is, lap times, take all of that and make the most educated decisions. So that's what we're going to dive into here now, is talking about that. And as always, if you have any questions, fire away in the comments section. Let us know where you're watching from, what kind of race car you're wrenching on or driving. The more comments we get, the better. And then if you have a question, certainly answer those. That's what we're here for. Every Monday night this off season, 5 p.m., you'll be able to catch us, and we're going to cover a bunch of great topics and answer all your questions. So thanks for joining us. Let's dive in. The most important thing with your suspension package to understand is it really is a fine-tuning device. So the shocks aren't valved to make up for a big deficiency in your setup. The springs and the torsion bar aren't meant to make up for a big deficiency in your setup. So if your car is out in left field, don't think that a shock valving change or a bleed adjustment change or high-speed adjustment change is going to corral it back in. You have to have a good baseline setup before you even worry about what the shocks, springs, torsion bars need to be. Now, that being said, if you have a bad shock, meaning it's got mechanically something wrong with it, or a dead torsion bar, or a spring that's bent or wrong, that's another story. But if you've got 4 shocks on your car and your springs and torsion bars and you know they're in decent shape and your car is really ill handling, let's start looking at some other things first. Is the thing square? Is anything bound up? Is your baseline setup in the realm of where it should be? Once we have a good baseline and we know where that is, then we can start diving into tuning shocks and making sure that we're taking full advantage of having the correct valving. As I previously said, a shock is a timing device, so it's going to control pitch and heave and roll, right? And how quickly it does it, at what point in the corner it's going to transition from left to right, front to back. That's what your shocks are going to do for you. So how would you know if you're supposed to be changing a shock or adjusting a shock or changing a spring. A lot of times we'll get the question of, man, I'm rolling over too far on the right rear, I need a stiffer compression. Potentially you need a stiffer compression, but not always. A lot of times you'll need a stiffer spring or torsion bar to prevent that roll, because the shock's primary function isn't to hold the corner up. It's going to control how quick the weight transfers to that corner and then unloads from that corner to another corner in the car. So if it's moving to the right rear too fast, or you're having like an oscillation issue where it's bouncing on the right rear, potentially we need to look at a rebound adjustment on the right rear. But if you're just simply getting too much travel over there on any particular corner, the first thing to look at would be spring rate, and then ride height would be the number 2 thing I would look at. If it's getting back there too quick, that would be a shock adjustment scenario. When should you adjust compression versus rebound? We get that a lot. Obviously, compression is going to control how fast the car goes down. Rebound is going to control how fast it comes up, right? So my little Hudson toy quarter midget. So compression, how fast it's going down. Rebound, how fast it's coming up. Okay. Some other forms of racing, European racing, they call compression bump, and rebounds always rebound. So if, like I say, if you're having an oscillation issue, the car is bouncing, typically that would be a rebound setting that might need adjusted. It could be a gas pressure setting if you're running a monotube style shock, but if it's a twin tube, more than likely it's a rebound setting. And if it just feels lazy, like it's just rolling in a particular corner too fast or too much, that's when we would look at a compression setting, or again, like I mentioned, a potentially increase in spring rate. Got one guy watching from Florida. I only have my phone today. Half my luggage is still in the shock trailer or the quarter midget trailer, so I don't have my computer to look at YouTube. Is there any YouTube questions so far?
No, just BR1 Motorsports, watching from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay. We normally don't get comments on YouTube, so I'm glad to see that does work. We will have our shock trailer at Tulsa, speaking of Tulsa, for the shootout and the Chili Bowl. So we always caution people, don't wait till you get to the shootout to bring like 2 or 3 sets of shocks over to be freshened, because it can get to be like scramble mode. So always better to get them done here where we can work on everything in a nice controlled environment and we're not getting interrupted. We're at the shootout primary function to help people tune their stuff, and then emergency repairs that happen throughout the event. So you know, I don't think we've ever had a customer win the event that brought us like 4 sets of shocks to freshen on parking day. So plan ahead, get that stuff done ahead. It's well worth the cost of shipping. We're going to have, we were just discussing, we're going to do a 12 days of Christmas sale. And one of those is going to be some discounts on repairs. So keep your eye out. December 1st, we're going to roll that out. There'll be a different deal every day for the next 12 days. So pay attention to that. You can save some money if you're worried about shipping costs and whatnot with repairs. So nobody has any questions pertaining to tonight's topic. Half Pint's watching. Half Pint just super trucked our quarter midget rig from Vegas, left Saturday morning and got back last night. So the man's a beast, and it was Hudson's last quarter midget race, was a little bit sad, but we're looking forward to diving into some micro stuff next year and a little bit of junior sprint racing in the meantime. So cool. Well, I think we answered. You got anything, Jack? No questions?
I got a question from Super Sprinter 22. Do you ever recommend adjusting opposite corners together to keep the same attitude but change dynamic wheel weights?
You must not be a sprint car guy with that question, or a midget guy or a micro guy, because none of our shocks have enough rebound to really control your dynamic wheel weights and the effect that it would on like a pavement or dirt late model where they're running a lot of rebound. They're compressing a spring and they have enough rebound to keep that spring compressed, which really changes your dynamic wheel loads. So no, on a sprint car midget, Typically on these Monday morning quarterbacks, we're talking about our core markets, the markets that we have the most experience in. So quarter midgets, micros, midgets, sprint cars, silver crown. That's what we do here every day. We get asked all the time, can you build me dirt late model shocks? Can you build me drag race shocks? If you know what you want, we can build anything here, but that's kind of where the road stops. If you called here on a Monday and you had a question about your dirt late model, I'm not the guy, and we don't have anybody in these four walls currently that can help you dial in a dirt late model. Now, if you have any of those cars I previously mentioned, quarter midget, midget, micro, sprint car, we can get you dialed in. So I don't know how to best answer your question, but on a sprint car, midget, micro, again, our core markets, typically we're adjusting one corner at a time, or front shocks or rear shocks. Typically we're not doing like a left front and a right rear adjustment. Typically we would be doing a singular corner or front adjustment or rear adjustment. I never recommend for folks to go hog wild and jack crazy adjustments on all four corners. If you do all four corners, it's a very light adjustment on all four corners as to not get your balance out of whack. Anybody that has our shocks and has the tuning guide on the adjustable shocks, you see we make small incremental adjustments. That's really important to not get your balance out of whack. And if you are starting with our baseline setup and you do feel like your balance is off or could be improved, give us a call. Talk to me or Trevor. We're happy to walk you through that and see how we can better improve that, because our tuning guide really is just designed to be a roadmap to get you in the ballpark and give you a good idea of how we navigate shock adjustments throughout the night with changing track conditions, if that makes sense.
Jordan McDonald says, when the track's slick and rough, how far would you go for tying the car down?
So slick and rough is probably the most difficult scenario we tune for, right? Because when the track's slick, we need to tighten everything up and we need to make grip. When you make grip, the car doesn't want to go through holes very comfortably. So I always kind of look at it as a whole scope. So if the track's only rough in 5 to 15% of the track, I'm not going to tune for that unless it's really slowing me down, because I don't want to make a suspension adjustment to get through that little area of the racetrack and then suffer the other 85 to 95% of the track, if that makes sense. So slick and rough, typically we are going to tighten the car up as if we normally would, because you got to get down the straightaway. Typically the straightaways aren't rough, there are exceptions, but if you have your car freed up to get through the holes and you spin all the way down the straightaway, you're probably not going to win the race. So we'd get the thing tightened up and do our best to navigate through the holes as best as possible. Yeah.
And then we have a question kind of piggyback off of that one. What are you referring to when you say tying the car down?
So tying the car down, so when somebody says they have a tie down shock, really all they're saying is the shock has more rebound than compression. So in old school numbers, it's a 2 compression, 4 rebound, right? I hate to use those old numbers because they're not a true unit of measure. So anything that has more rebound than compression. So if your shock is a 60 pounds of compression at 3 inches per second and it's 100 pounds of rebound, that is effectively a tie down shock. So if we're tying the car down more, we're adding more rebound than we previously had. Good question.
And that's everything on YouTube right now.
Okay. Appreciate the questions. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, next week will be a PRI preview. So if you're not going, you'll want to tune in to see all the cool stuff we're going to do at the show and new products. If you are going, you're going to want to tune in because we're going to tell you all the good places to eat, all the fun things to do while you're in Indianapolis, and as always, we'll answer any tech question you have. So thank you for tuning in. Please like and share this video, and we look forward to seeing you all next week.